Welcome to Trauma Recovery Anonymous. There are many clients that we deal with nowadays who seem to be in a permanent state of fight or flight, or fight and freeze, or flight and freeze. When working with clients, I try to get them to look at the cause and not the effect. The world seems to be hell-bent on treating the effect. PTSD, anxiety, depression, how it affects a person. But the problem isn't the effect, the problem is the cause. What caused this effect in a person? And so I'd like to talk to you about is what caused a client to get stuck in fight or flight, or fight and freeze, or freeze and flight. When it comes to our responses to danger, understand that our feelings and our emotions are not mental disorders. They are in fact our God-given instincts in the face of any danger, real or imaginary. When we experience any danger, whatever that is, we respond with our feelings, our first line of defense. We feel anxious, we feel depressed, angry, sad, whatever. And we're meant to take some form of action. Now, the three primary responses we're meant to take are either fight, flight, or freeze. A couple of years back, someone came out with a fourth response, which is fawn. But I'd like to argue that our fourth response is actual acceptance. And I'm going to explain that all to you now. So imagine for 1 minute a child, an infant in the womb. It's about to be delivered, and coming from a place that has lived for 9 whole months, all its needs taken care of, its total understanding of life in this space, and suddenly it's dying a death, but it's not really dying a death because it's coming from life to life. So the shock of that affects their whole makeup, and in that moment they respond with one of their God-given instincts, a fight, flight, a freeze, or acceptance. Now take for instance the first child responds with freeze. They come out of the womb and they're comatose, and the doctor, midwife, nurse, attendee lifts the child up by the ankles, slaps them on the bum to get a reaction. As soon as they get a reaction, they wrap them lovingly into a blanket and place them into a cot. And now in that moment, that child's got a message that its God-given instinct, its primary instinct for that child to freeze, has been taken from it. It understands that its best response to danger is not effective, and they can never ever freeze in their lifetime. So they go through their life only in a state of fight or flight. But they're not their natural response. Their natural response is to freeze, but they've been told from their first experience not to freeze, and so they're in a permanent state of fight or flight. They're the child that comes out of the womb in a state of fight, fighting and kicking and screaming. The nurse lovingly takes that child, wraps it in a blanket to subdue it and puts it into a cot. And in that moment, that child learns that it can't trust its primary response to danger to fight, and so it ends up being in a permanent state of flight or freeze. And for the rest of its days, it ends up being this kind of passive-aggressive, submissive person because it's afraid to fight. It knows its primary response to danger, which is to fight, has been taken from it, and they're left in a state of flight or freeze, and they're not their normal go-to place. The third child comes out of the womb and they're in a state of flight. They're kicking and screaming, trying to get away, and the nurse, doctor, midwife, attendee wraps them in a blanket lovingly and puts them into a cot so they won't hurt themselves. And that moment, the child learns that they can never flight, that flight is not effective. It's their God-given instinct, their primary response to danger, their go-to response, but it's been taken from them. And so they're left in a state of either fight or freeze. Both responses, normal responses for any other child. For this child, they're not their normal response, and so they're in a state of confusion. They don't know what to do because their primary response to danger is taken from them. Now the fourth child responds with acceptance. They come out of the womb and they're smiling, cheerful, happy child. The doctor, midwife, nurse, attendee takes the child and hands it to the mother. The mother holds that child, and the connection of heart to heart is rekindled, and that child grows up to be a very perfectly normal, healthy, happy child. And we meet these children in our lives, maybe one working in your office with you, someone who we're attracted to, that have an energy about them that we love to have. They're someone we love to have in our company. They don't have to apply for jobs, they're offered jobs. They have this wonderful sense of composure and confidence about them that we'd like to be like them. They're the kids that come out of the womb full of acceptance. But the rest of us who have been deprived of our response of fight, flight or freeze, we end up being in kind of a no man's land. We're not allowed to use our primary response and we get stuck in a state of fight or flight, or fight and freeze, or flight and freeze. But there is a solution to this. I believe there is a solution to this. I believe it would be wonderful if therapists, psychotherapists have clients on their books who are in these states, to create a safe space in your office where they can practice. If you have a client who's stuck in a state of a fight and flight, that their response of freeze has been taken from them, you create a safe place. Maybe you have a kind of a raised bed with a mattress and a pillow and a blanket, and you maybe have a beanbag in the corner, and you arrange for your client that they can go for 40 minutes and curl up in a ball on the mattress or in the corner and disassociate or shut down mentally, emotionally and physically, or just sleep or go into some sort of state of freezing for 40 minutes of the course. So you explain what the rules are. You're going to have an alarm clock, and 10 minutes before the session's over, you'll set the alarm clock off and you'll tap them on the shoulder and say to come back into the room. They come back and they share the experience of what it was like to freeze and what that felt like. And over time, with different practices, you can teach them to trust their God-given instinct to freeze. Likewise for children whose primary response was fight or flight and was taken from them. But I think what would really benefit all clients, adults and children who suffer with this, is to teach them the power of acceptance. If they can learn to change their view of life as being life in life's terms, a horrible place to be, where they really aren't taken care of and every step is a hardship, to embracing life in God's terms, to accept that God created the universe in 7 days. And if he can create everything in 7 days, he can deal with our rubbish in a split second. And so if we can learn how to form a personal intimate relationship with God and let him into our lives and give him our rubbish through those prayer practices I shared earlier on, just give him your day so you can have peace of mind at night and learn to have peace of mind during the day. If we can teach clients to do this, and to accept that we're living life in God's terms and not life in life's terms, I think we can give them a sense of reclaiming all of their instincts, all of their responses to danger, to be more composed, mature, responsible, more confident, more of the strong, silent type amongst our clients, that they'll walk heads and shoulders around their peers and people look up and say, I want what they have. I think we have that ability within ourselves to give that to our clients. My name is Richard Tierney. This is Trauma Recovery Anonymous. This is a spiritual solution that allows any person misdiagnosed or diagnosed with a mental disorder caused by a past trauma memory to learn how to reclaim your responses to danger in a healthy way and to live life one day at a time. Also for any young people especially who don't know and realize that their feelings and emotions are in fact God-given instincts in the face of danger. And they can reclaim their feelings and their emotions, that they're not mental disorders. They can actually trust them. This program also works for them too. Thank you for your time. Please take the time, if you would, to share this with as many of your colleagues, your clients as you can. The more we can meet, the happier we will be. So thank you everybody for listening to me today.